your last formal interaction in an active meeting, but I think that everyone knows that you will be physically and spiritually always with this active program. And I am therefore happy to associate myself with the remarks of Prime Minister Mitchell this morning in every respect. So thank you. As it relates to the deepening of the relationship between Africa and CARICOM, let us be clear, the further penetration that is necessary to make this real will not happen by sentiment nor speeches. And to that extent, therefore, the CARICOM AU meeting in Addis in September is a critical follow-up, not just to establish the credentials of political will, but to begin to lay out a pathway that will allow the substantive interaction in trade, investment, diplomacy, etc. to continue, people-to-people interaction. And why do I say so? It takes two hands to clap. So I may stand prepared, for example, to be able to support the opening up of travel on this side, but there has to be others on the other side developing the market as well for it to happen. We may want to be able to see more direct trade linkages in terms of controlling the maritime routes, but it also requires a deconstruction as to what is necessary for us to move goods straight from West Africa to the Caribbean. Perhaps what is missing more than anything else is the information platform that is necessary to allow individual investors, individual traders to be able to make decisions. And I hope that one of the things that will come out of Addis Ababa in just over a month is the creation of that platform. I've always said that where we have banks that investors are familiar with, that's the first step to make them comfortable. And to that extent, the presence of Republic Bank in Ghana with over 50 branches is a major starting point for us out of West Africa. I hope that we will have other banks from Africa in the Caribbean. And I say so conscious. In my own country, we have 3 Canadian banks, the youngest of which I think is over 80 years old now. We have 2 Trinidadian banks, and we believe that it is more than possible for us to see the kind of innovation that we saw in East Africa when Barclays and Standard Chartered and those pulled out of Kenya. There was an innovation that unleashed tremendous opportunities for the people of Kenya. I feel that that kind of innovation is needed in the Caribbean now, and that equally we have to confront the fact that with the exception of Haiti, all of our countries in the region are underpopulated, and you cannot sustain economic growth without people. So that we need to find a way of working alongside our brothers and sisters in Africa too, because to the extent that there are skills that we cannot acquire here in the sufficient scale or numbers that we need, then Africa that is facing a demographic dividend in this century can perhaps assist us in meeting some of those skills that are not presently available to us. So, bottom line, that we start to drill down into the details of what will make it possible to link our own single market and economy in the Caribbean with the Africa Free Trade Area, and then equally how we provide the information platform that will allow individual investments to move, as well in particular in the financial services sector, in banking and insurance.
Thank you. I think it's going to be a round of applause. Prime Minister, there was so much in your answer. I think that one of the things that you said, or a few of the things that you said that I found very interesting.
Wow, Africa and Caribbean to establish a free movement of people and goods. The question is, can Africa and Caribbean stop trading through Europe and America and starting trading direct? You see here, family, Africa is here. But for Africa to go to Caribbean, Africa has to go to Europe first, then to go to America, then to Caribbean. So we want a direct movement of Africans or goods from Africa to Caribbean. So family, in this video, we are going to hear from African leaders in Caribbean talking about trade and investment, how Africa and Caribbean can unite and work together. So join with me in this video. And also, if you have something to share with us, please do so through the comment section. Let us not speak a lot of words this time. Let us share first what our leaders have said. Welcome.
And with that, thank you. We do have a very special guest who I want to welcome onto the larger screen here. Aliko Dangote is joining us. Aliko, I do want to ask you a question, just one question, if I may. And that is, I know that Dangote has announced plans, the Dangote Group has actually announced plans to establish a petroleum export terminal within the Caribbean. Just quickly, what advice would you give? I know that you've talked about certain barriers that exist between trade and investment for the two reasons. What advice would you give, let's say, African businesses who are trying to set up shop in the Caribbean, or Caribbean businesses who are trying to set up shop in Africa, and how do we overcome the barriers that are present right now?
Well, thank you very much. It's great being with all of you, and thank you very much for the invitation. I think the first thing that we need to do is actually to try and create a corridor where there's an airline business between the Caribbean and African countries. And also, we need to remove all these visa issues, because one of the biggest issues that we have as entrepreneurs is about visa issues. Coming to the business about, investing in the petroleum sector. When I last visited Grenada and Bahamas, I realized that they are really paying quite a lot in terms of petroleum products. It's very, very, very expensive. Actually, it is even unheard of. So we are looking at the opportunity where we can set up a terminal either in Grenada or in the Bahamas or any of the Caribbean, and see how can we help to bring this cost down. Not only the petroleum business, we are looking at also cement. When I look at what you are paying in the Caribbean in terms of cement, it's almost about 3 times what you are paying in Africa. And that is really very, very prohibitive. And, I think we need to team up together, remove all these visa issues, let us get to know each other, and, that will actually open up the doors for investment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A very important message there from Mr. Dangote. So,
and then also, sorry,
go ahead.
We're looking at also fertilizers. We're looking also at fertilizers, which is a little bit scarce. We are looking of, setting up a place where at least one of the countries will set up an area where we can now do urea, you can do NPK, because 37% of our own urea goes to the US. We have a plant of 3 million tons, and we're taking it to about 9 million tons. We are targeting in the next 36 months to be the largest urea producer in the world.
Thank you so much, Aliko Dangote. Thank you. So one of the things that...
Madam Moderator, I wanted to react quickly, if you would allow me. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But there are 3 major petroleum storage facilities within the Caribbean. One in Trinidad and Tobago, one in Jamaica, and another in Antigua and Barbuda. But we've been buying extra-regionally, and we have not patronized Africa. Perhaps what we need to do now is to direct our purchasing out of Africa to get cheaper products, better products. So even without building out an additional terminal, there are already 3 large terminals. But again, it reconfirms the fact that we do not have the type of information flow, the type of database to know precisely what products are available, what facilities are available. So this is one of the areas that we need to quickly establish so that we know what is available and that we can increase trade between Africa and the Caribbean. Sorry for interrupting.
No, don't worry. Thank you.
Yeah, I make a point that
Very good.
I think what is required now is for the private sector of the Caribbean to step forward, and that people like ourselves would take the second row or the third row in the room. Because at the end of the day, trade is essentially among business people. The politicians are setting the framework, and of course we've taken the very important points raised by Mr. Dangote of the facilitation. And I think what we need to do as governments is to provide the facilitation and the framework to allow business and trade to flourish. And so there are huge opportunities, I believe, and this is where I believe that Active now needs to shift a gear in a sense and to focus more on engaging business people and to see where the quote-unquote deals can be negotiated and signed off upon. Otherwise, if we keep it at the government level, all you will find is that we're going to be borrowing from Afri-Exim Bank for national projects, but not for the kind of investments that are going to propel the higher creation of jobs and profits. And so, because it is when Mr. Dangote sets up in the Caribbean, you're going to have direct flights, because people are going to want to know what's happening in the Caribbean, because this giant from the African continent is investing in the Caribbean. And so we're hoping that coming out of the EU summit, there is a clear appreciation by the heads of state, heads of government, the need to create the facilitation. These visas really never existed before. We have caused ourselves from a colonial standpoint to impose restrictions on our movement. And in the 21st century, I think we need to get rid of all the visas and allow people to move freely. And there's no reason why a businessman needs 5 visas to come to 5 different Caribbean countries. It's not going to work.
Thank you. Well said, well said.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I wanted to really touch on the point of the visa, and I think Dangote and Prime Minister Skerrit touched on it. 2 business people were supposed to come here today to sign with us with an investment in St. Kitts and Nevis that is coming through the Africanism Bank. And one of them could not be here because he needs a visa. That is directly already affecting how we do business. And therefore, this tells us in a stark way that we really need to get rid of the visa system. We, for example, have visa-free access. Nigerians have visa-free access to St. Kitts and Nevis because we have been welcoming, yes? We have been welcoming medical students for a long time, diving students and so forth. But for us to go to Nigeria, we need a visa. And again, I think that that is something to be looked at. We're in the process of discussing that with the high officials in Nigeria, but that is a real issue in terms of the communication. Just to wrap the point up, I think that there are different levels on which we can work. All does not need the direct intervention of the governments, and therefore I think the point is made. For example, St. Kitts and Nevis Ministry of Education has now linked with the Open University of Tanzania. I'm very sure that the Prime Minister of Tanzania did not know that, but he does not need to know that. Once the facilitation is created, people will find their own way within this space to make sure that things work. We have also gone as far as connecting with university in Kenya so that we can tap into the TVET program, which we are going to do, something we had been seeking to do for the longest time, but Kenya has opened up that opportunity. Again, I'm pretty sure that the president of Kenya does not know this, but because the environment is being created, that connection is already being made and tangible benefits are being seen. And lastly, to say, just recently, we, of course, worked together with a private entity in Nigeria, and we were able to have an African Caribbean Forum in Abuja and have a return visit to St. Kitts and Nevis, where Air Peace, one of the largest jets ever landed in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I can say that the president of Nigeria may not have known that this is happening. Saying clearly again that once the environment is created, we will ensure, or our people will ensure, that the connections and the trade happen. So my point is, let's create the environment, the political will, and the opportunities for our people. Let our people be able to move, and let us handle the visual matter. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to make sure that.
Can I say a word?
Oh, go ahead, Aliko.
Yeah, I think the president of Nigeria is going to come up with a very good visa policy to create visa on arrival, because really I know it's been very difficult getting Nigeria's visa, but I think that issue will be sorted out very soon. I think in this quarter we will be hearing from the president how people can just get visas on arrival. I think that will open up. But my own dream is to see that how we actually free up Africa in cement, in petroleum products, in urea, fertilizer. We will do the same to the Caribbean. I visited there. I don't have any visa issue, but other entrepreneurs, they do have visa issues. Once you remove the visa issues, we set up air connectivity. Definitely, we have to work together. We are natural partners. We are the same people. We are just being divided by the colonial masters, and we should get back and work together.
If I may, 5 years ago, Barbados removed visas from all countries in Africa with the exception of 5. And those 5 were just on the basis of security reasons. So I think that this is something that ought to be taken up at the CARICOM AU meeting in a month's time. And it is in fact the prerequisite for us to be able to have a linkage between the CARICOM single market and economy and the Africa Free Trade Area. What Aliko said in terms of being able to reduce the costs for cement, for petroleum, there are a whole host of other goods and services that the Caribbean carries a disproportionately high cost on, including digital and telecoms, largely because of our lack of scale. But if we can, and this is how this relationship started, lest we forget, in 2020, when no one would provide access to the Caribbean for therapeutics, for vaccines, for ventilators, it was Africa, through Strive Masiwa, working with the head of WHO, Dr. Tedros, that literally put us in contact for the first time with Afrexim Bank, who were the financiers of the Africa Medical Supplies Platform. That is how this relationship started in a crisis. It is up to us to ensure that what was done for a crisis is now normal business going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Provided today we are here, and head of states, head of governments are here discussing about the facilitation of trade, Africa-Caribbean. This issue should be addressed openly. We have to analyze all obstacles hindering businesses in Africa and the Caribbean. And we are supposed also to analyze the issues. If there are issues hindering one continent to another, let's discuss about it, because it's our time. And this platform of trade investment here in Grenada, it's a time to come up with a solution on how to do business and trade investment all over the African continent and Caribbean. I understand Chief Dangote is one of the biggest investors in Tanzania. He's invested more than $700 million with a plant of cement. What we did in the government is to provide all necessary support to him as an investor. to support his investment. And he is continuing investing in Tanzania. And now we declare that if there are any investor who intend to invest in Tanzania, African continent, we are ready to open up all obstacles so that he invests and he will do businesses. That's why we have a call today that let's enlist all these issues hindering business between Africa and Caribbean. Thank you so much.
Aliko, one of the other things that I think is important to note, and obviously you talk about visa-free travel and how important that is, but there are a lot of barriers that exist to being able to do business across both regions, whether it's the differences in regulatory systems, tax regimes, customs protocol. You know, it makes it very difficult for entrepreneurs to scale across regions. It's almost impossible. It's very difficult, even if you take the visa issues out of it. How do we work together to overcome that aspect of it?
I think the only way for us to come out of it is actually working with the various governments to let them know that, look, it is a win-win situation. It's not that you are just helping this. You see, governments have no business in business. And the only way for us to create wealth and prosperity is through the private sector. And, it's just like us now. There's no government, and I'm proud to say so. There's no government in the entire African continent that would take to put up, in one, lot, to put up 650,000 barrels per day refinery. It has never been done in the world anyway. And, putting up petrochemicals, 1 million tons of polypropylene, putting up 3 million tons of diesel. So what I think we need to do is actually getting together with governments. You cannot do any business without government support because, various issues were faced before. One of the issues that we have faced before was, first, number one, mainly the African, the incumbents, which means people who have been there. You have massive resistance from them. Government somersault in policies, some governments reneging on investment agreements. So, but all this one needs a dialogue. And we have actually come across various things, including going up to Supreme Court in Senegal. But at the end of the day, we are very, very, firm. We have our own vision. We know how to achieve it. And, we were able to resolve those, issues. Today, people should know when we set up our cement plant, the first one was 5 million tons. As we speak today, the government of Nigeria makes more money than us that own the business. But it's okay. We're happy, with that. And for every 1 naira of our currency we turn around, the government makes 52 kobo, which means for every one, whether it's dollar or whatever that we turn around, government collects 52% from various taxes. But it is okay. That does not really stop us from investing. It will happen the same way with the Caribbeans. With the Caribbean that we can go now, we can sit with them, we can show them what we have done elsewhere. And then we can actually convince them that, look, it is a win-win situation. You as government cannot have that kind of liberty of going to banks to raise money. And even if you raise the money, you build whatever plant, you have no knowledge of running that business. Governments are not good in running businesses. They are very good in governance. So what you need to do is to facilitate. When they facilitate, we will risk our capital to invest and make sure that we create prosperity among the population. Once you invest, if I now go to Caribbean and I put up 500 million, we actually, by the way, we put up almost $800 million, including power plants, trucks. Even this week, we are receiving another 350 CNG trucks in Tanzania. So when you have this kind of investment, we have had issues before during former President Magufuli, but later on, every single issue we have had has actually been sorted out. In fact, we're even giving more incentives that we do not even ask for. So I think in the Caribbean, we are looking for this sort of opportunity because it is so disheartening to see that, yes, our brothers and sisters are being ripped off because they have nowhere to go to. And I think we need to make sure that, yes, we work together and invest. We feel at home in the Caribbean. And I must thank President Obama, Orama, my brother, of Africanism Bank, for opening up the link between Africa and the Caribbean. He has actually done a great job. My first time of going back to the Caribbean, I went there in the 80s, but my first time of going back was through the invitation of, President of Africanism Bank, Orama. And Orama is very passionate, and he has actually invited most of us. I'm now one of the champions of actually investing in the Caribbean, and will continue to do so.
Thank you so much. One of the things that, thank you, Aliko. One of the things that I think is important is that it's one thing for, African giants like Aliko Dangote talking about the red tape. But then when you think about the kind of red tape and bureaucracy that exists for small to medium-sized businesses trying to scale across both regions, it is very difficult. If you're an entrepreneur in the Caribbean, you won't even know what opportunities necessarily exist in Africa, let alone trying to figure out, how to harness investment for your, it's virtually impossible. There's not even a platform that exists to allow Caribbean and African entrepreneurs to network, to understand, the opportunities and the growth areas of the region. That needs to change. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. And that was what I was about to speak of. And few of us knew about Africa until you were on CNN talking about the African story, right? So many people got to know about Africa and the potential of Africa based on your CNN program. Yeah.
Thank you.
You see, I think all of us in this room, we're here for two purposes. One, to create wealth. If you're a business, you want to create wealth and you want to make profit. And two, if you're a politician, you want to improve the lives of people. You want to improve the quality of life of people. You want to improve their standard of living. So we cannot assume that the people know where we are going. We cannot assume that the years of history, the years of when people did not really know what Africa was about and what was the potential of Africa. So whilst we develop all the economic factors and the business factors, we have to ensure that the people are not left behind. We have to ensure that our children think of going to study in Africa or going to go and study in some other country. We have to think that the people in our region want to buy goods from Africa. So what I'm advocating for is in tandem with the economic trade, etc. We need to have a people-to-people involvement. We have to bring the people on board so that people can understand and support what's happening in this room today. Thank you very much.
And yes, what role do you think heads of state specifically should be playing? You mentioned, yes, that people in the Caribbean should think about going to study in Africa. They should have that awareness. It should be part of the conversation naturally. What role do you think heads of states should be playing in terms of that policy messaging?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say that for a long time, we have seen that there is a political will in everything that we are talking about. Before coming here, my president, Paul Kagame, asked me to tell the audience that this unity we are talking about between Africa and the Caribbean is not a choice, it's a necessity. And he also told me, whatever we see today as a challenge in this global turbulence, let's take it as an opportunity. Because Rwanda is one of the countries that have risen through resilience for so many challenges that you have gone through, starting from genocide and so on and so forth. And there are three elements where heads of state can facilitate our people to interconnect and prosper. One, as Aliko Dangote said, can we make sure that our people can move? Can we remove visa restrictions? And Rwanda is one of the examples. My president took a bold decision, said, we are welcoming the world. Everyone can come to Rwanda without visa. And you have seen progress over the last 10 years. Second, can we allow money and goods to move? When we talk about goods to move, we are talking about tariff. When we talk about money to move, we are talking about investment. How do we facilitate investors? And again, when you go back to my country, we have taken bold decision to welcome each and every investor to come to Rwanda. And I think we need now to look at what are we producing that we can take to the rest of the world. Because we welcome everyone, we welcome everything from the world, but what are we producing to take to the rest of the world? So I think we address those three things. We allow our people to connect, we welcome investment, we allow money and goods to move, then we will make everything happen. Thank you.
One of the questions I have for all of you, including Aliko, actually. Aliko, did I see your hand pop up? Did you want to say something, Aliko?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, what I want to say is that, it is maybe people like us that we believe in the Caribbean. It's very difficult to really get foreign investors. They will come and promise you heaven and earth, and they will not turn up. But I think we feel very much at home with the Caribbean, and we can set up an industrial base, not only to meet up with the Caribbean, when we push down our cost of production, we can use also the Caribbean for export, to export the excess capacities that we created. This is possible because I will give you a small example. In Nigeria used to be in 2000 up to 2007, number 2 in terms of imports of cement. And today it is totally a different story. Nigeria is the largest exporter of cement and clinker out of Africa. So these sort of things, and we have set up a lot. In Tanzania, the first time that I went to Tanzania, we promised that, yes, we are going to set up this in not only Tanzania, South Africa, Ethiopia, all these countries we went, we invested at a point over $2.5 billion in Southern and Eastern Africa. So we have met those demands. And I think really we want to face the Caribbean, and it is not very difficult to do so. Once we have the government support, we can show them what we have done elsewhere, and I'm sure they will support us, they will give us all the backing, and we will actually turn around things in a short period of time.
Thank you, Aliko. I think the last question I want to pose to anyone who wants to jump in is really... Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And let me also thank Aliko. I know difficult it is for you to have joined, and appreciate your joining us. And also thank you for your leadership in the business and the partnership. I wanted to say a few things about what Aliko said about the prices of goods here. Let's focus on petroleum products. And I say this because it ties to what I said earlier, that we have to be deliberate about what we do. Today you have Guyana as a major oil producer. Very soon, Suriname will come. Now, and I wish our brother President Ali were here. Can you check who trades Guyana's oil? Have you discussed amongst yourself the possibility of checking your collective demand and organizing to be a major buyer, to pay exactly what everybody pays. You're not asking for peanuts. But it's crude oil. You take it, you organize with Dangote Refinery to do toll refining. So he does toll refining, so you carry crude, so you have a tanker go, a tanker come back. Would it reduce your petroleum prices dramatically and open other opportunities for you? Guyana is not going to lose anything because that trading company that will do it for you will pay exactly what everybody pays. But they help to bring stability in economies here and begin to open the trade links between Africa and the Caribbean. So let's about being deliberate. It's not just going to say we do tender or whatever. I'm happy they have one or two Africans who participate, but they go up with that to go around. But I think that is an opportunity you can use. And even when Suriname comes, it's also a possibility to use that to supply the different countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone want to tackle what he said? Yeah, go ahead.
Right, so I want to thank President Orama for that intervention. What he has said today has been on my mind for some time. Here we are having this resource in one of our CARICOM countries, and yet we seem to be thinking outside of CARICOM for the major part of the solution. Has CARICOM come together and decided to have a conversation with Guyana to leverage its petroleum product, its crude oil and so forth, to help to resolve the very high cost of energy within the region? It is a critical matter because when we did our analysis of St. Kitts and Nevis alone, and you look at what we pay about 30 to 40 cents per kilowatt. It is one of the highest in the world. So how can an open economy, a small economy, survive paying 30 to 40 cents per kilowatt for energy? And so I want to surely say, with respect to what President Orama has said, that this is something that CARICOM should take up almost immediately. And I am part of the Bureau, and Prime Minister Motley is part of the Bureau, along with our chair now, Prime Minister Holness, that this is something that should be discussed at the Bureau level to bring to the wider CARICOM leadership. How can CARICOM engage Guyana as part of the solution to deal with the high cost of energy? If we don't carry down the cost of energy in the Caribbean, we'll be dealing with these issues for a very long time. To attract industry will be difficult. The cost of doing the business will be too high. And the cost of living in the Caribbean, that too, will be extremely high. The cost of food will also be high. Everything will remain high if the cost of energy remains high. So I think this is one of the ways in which we can attack it. Thank you very much, President.
I think the conversation is definitely worth having. I suspect part of the difficulty may be existing commitments that Guyana has to multinational corporations that have not taken into account regional needs developmentally or otherwise. The region is, at this point in time, looking at aggregating production for renewable energy because we've begun to understand that individually very few people are going to be interested because our numbers, our scale is just too small. But if we aggregate as a community, which is effectively what Professor Rama is saying for fossil fuel, and what the heads of government decided that we would look at as a project in February when we met in Barbados, that for renewable energy, the Eastern Caribbean countries have geothermal. Guyana and Suriname have both hydro and solar. Barbados, Antigua, Jamaica, a number of the rest of us have the potential for, yes, limited solar because we're small, but also wind, offshore wind and onshore wind. So that when you start to aggregate the potential, it's not a far-off concept. because when Ursula von der Leyen addressed us, she made it absolutely clear that Europe is going to have to be importing at least 10 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030. Who is the biggest exporter of ammonia now when Russia is not fully at play? It's a CARICOM country. It's Trinidad and Tobago. So that we're not talking about anything that is out of the realm of our possibilities. And what needs to happen is more and more, and I suspect, Aliko, that I heard it from your Vice President this morning, we are tiny. And yes, we are mighty when it comes to thought leadership and advocacy because we're sovereign nations. But when it comes now to commodities and trade, we're small. And this perhaps is the greatest impetus for the region to operate more and more as a single bloc, because individual countries will not excite the interests of many. But collectively, the region agreeing to pool its resources to trade with entities or blocks is a different dynamic.
Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister.
And just to build on the point that Mia made, unfortunately, many of our economies are still extractive economies in that we do not control our resources. They are harnessed by entities external of our region, and the profits generated, most of the profits are repatriated. It means, therefore, that we have to concentrate in the future on greater ownership and to ensure that the profits that are generated, the majority of the profits are retained in our respective countries. I mean, it's unfortunate that we have all these resources, but at the same time, they actually exported and then re-imported at a higher cost. So the issue of ownership becomes very important. And if we are going to become a successful people, then clearly we have to empower people with ownership at all levels, not just in terms of minerals, but all levels of ownership, all levels of our development, to ensure that our people could share equitably in the gains rather than having this type of extractive model, which literally goes back to slavery and colonialism. So that is one of the areas that we need to look at. But clearly it requires great investment of our own resources to harness those products, because at the end of the day, if we're going to rely exclusively on foreign direct investments, then clearly we're going to remain as extractive economies and will not see the type of growth and development that we anticipated or we desire. Thank you.
And I just want to give the last question to Aliko. Aliko, what does success look like? So let's say we're, sitting here in 2030. Beyond symbolism and announcements and handshaking and photo opportunity, what does success actually look like in terms of a stronger partnership between both regions?
I think the strong partnership, it is actually about implementation, because all this talk and whatever, we need to get people to get on the ground and make sure that they deliver what they promise, and there are great opportunities. Just like what, my sister, Prime Minister Mia said, the Caribbean, the cost of power, for example, is very, very prohibitive in the Caribbean. We generate power, but for our own self-consumption, we don't sell power, but we consume, we generate. And, we generate power as low as 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Even with the expensive gas, we generate at 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So if now you have a company that's very serious and believe in the vision, and also you have a real contract with them, they can set up, either it is hydro or it is, even today, you can do solar. Solar has come down so cheap. You can do solar and wind. So when there is no sunlight, then the wind will take over. And that way you can really, really bring down cost. By bringing down cost, it will create prosperity. They keep saying that no power, which means no electricity, no growth, and no prosperity. So I think we need to really get that power cost down immediately, whether through Guyana or Suriname, whatever it is. I think the Caribbean need to work very, very hard. It's not even just about smaller industries. Smaller industries, we can come and set up bigger industries, and then we can use the services of the small and medium-scale industries to grow.
Thank you so much, Aliko. And with that does it for the presidential panel. I want to give a quick round of applause to our excellencies and our esteemed panelists. Thank you all so much.
Wow, what a powerful conversation from our leaders concerning about the issue of trade and investment between Africa and Caribbean. Family, friend, fellow Africans, you heard a lot from our leaders. You heard a lot from a big investor in Africa, Mr. Aliko Dangote, and other leaders. But what the main issue here was the issue of the visa. All of us, we know how visa has become an obstacle for entrepreneurs and businessmen and women to do investment in Africa. You remember one time Dangote lamented about that he need more than 30 visas to move across the continent. And we know that Dangote is a big investor in the continent of Africa, but for him to travel from Africa, from one place in the continent to another, he need more than 30 visas. And another thing that is sometimes becoming an obstacle, we don't have direct flights between African nations. So, for instance, if you're in the southern part of the continent, you want to go to the western part of this continent, first of all, you have to go to Paris, and then you come to West Africa, or you have to go to Dubai or Qatar, then you come back to West Africa. There's no direct flight among or between African nations. So that is also the problem. But the main issue here was the issue of the visa. But if we can resolve the issue of the visa, I hope Africans can start investing in different parts of this continent. And I've been saying this many times, that for Africa to move forward, for Africans to start adding value and doing industrialization, we need to abolish these borders. And all of us, we are familiar that these borders were imposed by the colonizers for the benefit of exploiting Africa. And yet, till today, we are still legalizing these borders. So political leaders, they need political wills to resolve these borders and the issue of the visa. You know, if you listen to our leaders, all of them are committed with unity, working together, but they are not committed to remove borders. They are not committed to resolve the issue of visas. Yes, I know sometimes some governments, nations are making money through visas, but those was colonial systems. As Africans in this 21st century, we need to abolish those colonial rules, colonial borders, colonial things that was to keep Africa separate. You know, when these people established these visas, the aim was to stop Africans to move from one place to another. And when we get independence, we inherit those systems. And yet till today, we are stopping Africans moving to each other. And yet we are saying we want Africans to do businesses. It is impossible. That's why you see right now in the continent, it is very easy for African countries or nations to do business with China than to do business with their neighboring countries. Africans are importing chickens from foreign countries, while in the neighboring country there's a chicken. Africans are importing even water. Africans are importing food from Russia and Ukraine, while in the next door, in the neighboring brother country, they have surplus and they don't know how to get market. But because of these borders, sometimes we feel that we are not one. We are different people. We need others to do and to solve things for us. You know, I have been listening, one of the commentator, one leader spoken that the notion of thinking that Africa, we need others to do for us has come to an end. Let us Africans in the continent, in the Caribbean, work together, unite, and solve these challenges. As you heard from the representative of President Paul Kagame, he said, wherever we see challenges, we can transform those challenges into opportunities. If we lack energy, let us see that as an opportunity for Africans and Caribbean to generate their own source of energy. We have solar, we have wind, we have hydro, but all these can be turned into opportunities if we can work together. The notion of thinking that we don't have capacities, it is not true. We have been made to think that we don't have capacities. We need others. But just imagine if there's no white people, how can we survive in this world? We can survive. So I think we need to come together, we need to unite. One of the leader has spoken the issue of Africans in the diaspora or in the Caribbean coming and getting studied in Africa. That's what we want. You know, this time, because of separation, sometimes we feel that we are not Africans. We are black, but when we meet, we feel that we are not Africans. These are Caribbeans, these are Africans, but all of us, we are one. Historically, those who were in Caribbean were taken from this continent to Caribbean by the colonizers, and that's how we were divided. But this time we are saying we are one, we are Africans, we are brothers and sisters. Let us work together. Let us remove visa. Let us find a way to have a direct flight from Africa to Caribbean. Let us set ships to move from Caribbean to Africa, Africa to Caribbean. We can stop trading through Europe and America. We lose a lot of money. We lose a lot of money. Why? Because we are not working together. So I think the coming summit between African Union and the CARICOM, I think will open the room for African leaders to sit down and to find some best solution on how we can integrate and work together. The issue of Africans and Caribbeans moving free is an important issue. We want to see Africans, first of all, Africans in the continent moving free from one place to another. Also, Caribbeans within Caribbeans to move free from one place to another. Then we have to integrate and to move within the region without being asked for these visas. And through there, we can attract investment. We can start investing. We want Africans to invest in Caribbean. We want also Caribbeans to come and invest back home in Mother Africa, like Europeans, Chinese, and others are doing. So, brothers and sisters, if you have something to share with us, please do so through the comment section. I'm waiting to hear from you. What is your opinion? What is your thought? And how can we integrate? And why we are not ready for integration? Of course, we know politics is the thing that is always undermining Africa's development. I've been saying this many times. Sometimes maybe politicians are not happy with me, but that is the reality and that's the truth, that some politicians are not ready for the unity of this continent. Why? Because some of them were instilled and working for the interest of the Western power. Some of them are waiting to be presidents. So when you tell them that we have to unite, they feel that they can lose that opportunity of being presidents. But if you're a good leader, even if you are not a president, if you serve the people, you will be happy, because even if you become a president, if you don't serve the people, I think it is useless. So the aim of being a leader, even within a family level or community level or regional level, is to serve the people, to uplifting the lives of the people. Today, we see the Chinese, what they have done. They have uplifted millions of Chinese from poverty. Right now, Chinese are main investors in this continent. Every sector where you go, you find the Chinese. So when will Africa, especially our leaders, uplifting Africans from poverty? That's what we have been saying many times. But that was not a case. The issue here is how we can integrate and work together. We have different ideologies, I know. Sometimes we have influence from this Western power and our former colonizers. But if we are real and committed with unity and working together and uplifting the lives of Africans, we have to unite. We have to unite. We should stop being good people with good speeches. Let us go into actions. Let us implement our ideas. We cannot wait other people to come and tell us, go and unite. And they will not come to tell us. That's the reality. No one will come and tell us that, you have to unite. No, they will not come. They know, because if we unite, they will lose resources. But imagine if we can use these resources for ourselves. Imagine if we, as Africans, we can start using our own products with this population that we have, combined with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. How much we can make. Just imagine we have maybe the industry, mega industry for clothing, textile industry. We have billions of Africans. They want to wear. Just assume everyone has to wear a single shirt. How much we can make? How much we can make? Imagine we have mega industry for mobile phone manufacturing or smartphones. How much you can make? Sometimes when we see these powerful nations becoming rich and sometimes helping us, giving us small amount of money, it is because they are so organized. They have nothing in terms of resources, but they are so organized. Africa, we are not well organized. Even within the region, we are not well organized. Africans, we have been used as tools of exploitation. Our leaders are being used. You see sometimes these Western agencies saying, that is a good leader. Someone is a democratic, good leader. But they're trying to give them those kind of words to lob him or her to take control of our resources. But this generation, I think, we have recognized and seen all these things. What right now we need to do is to come together, to unite. Because, of course, we are uniting through these speeches, education. We want unity among citizens, not unity, political unity. Sometimes, yes, political unity is very important, but we need unity where people can move from one place to another. Someone can go to somewhere or to someone and engage and see opportunities. That's what we want. That's what we are asking. So, brothers and sisters, let us not speak for too long, but the aim was to share what is so good and nice from this conversation. But Africa is still opportunity. Caribbean has opportunities. What we lack is collaboration, working together, and unity among Africans in the diaspora or in the Caribbean and in the continent. I hope if we can start working together, uniting, we can solve all these challenges. So, brothers and sisters, after that, I have no more to share. We need to improve infrastructures. Of course, have been moving across this continent in some parts. I saw how infrastructures are not good. So we need to improve infrastructures. So when we say we want a free movement of people and goods, so that those goods can move free through a good infrastructures, we need to bring peace also, because without peace in the continent, even if we can allow free movement of people and goods, nothing can be happen. Because if there's no peace, it will be difficult for the people to pass through war zone. So we need to bring peace. Everyone, wherever you are, sometimes the issue of the peace, we think that we need someone to bring peace. No, we are the one who are fighting there. It is not Europeans, it is not Chinese, it is not Russians who are fighting the continent of Africa. It's we Africans. So if we can come together and stop this nonsense of fighting each other, we can bring peace. Look what's happening in Sudan. Brothers against brothers. What a shameful thing we are doing as Africans. What a shameful thing we are doing. And yet we come out, we say we want to unite, we want free movement of people and goods. First of all, let us stop this nonsense that we are doing in the continent of Africa. Let us stop fighting each other. We are tired to see bloods of innocent people. Sometimes I wonder, these soldiers who have been training them, they have been trained to protect the life of their people, the life of Africans, but are the ones who are killing them. We have given hyena to take care of goats, and now it's hyena who are consuming our goats. So our soldiers, your responsibility is to bring peace, not to fight each other. Stop nonsense in Sudan. Stop those things in Democratic Republic of Congo. Let us sit down. Why we need America to bring us together to discuss our peace? Why not we Africans? Why not? Sometimes if you think about what is happening in this continent in some areas, you can struggle. Because sometimes I ask myself, what are they fighting for? They are fighting for resources. And they're not getting those resources. Those resources are already in the hands of other people. But they're fighting each other. Why don't we Africans come together and stop fighting in South Sudan? Stop fighting in Sudan. And those who are calling themselves jihadists, why they are destabilizing Sahel? Who has sent them to destabilize Sahel? What they want? Who is giving them weapons? And why they accept to receive weapons to destabilize Sahel, to destabilize Congo, to destabilize Sudan? Africans, we have problems, and we need to resolve these problems. And to resolve these problems, we need to go to the roots, to start teaching our people how to defend their nations, what is important for them to be good citizens, and what they can do as a good citizen to support their nations. But you find it's we Africans destroying our infrastructures. If you go to Sudan, they have destroyed everything. It will take maybe 100 years for Sudan to come back to where it was. I'm telling you the truth. Right now, everything has been distracted. Infrastructures has been distracted. And what is so bad, these soldiers who are fighting are taking loans. Are taking loans of weapons to fight. So you receive loans of weapons to fight. And then after the war finished, then you have to pay. And you have already destroyed everything. First of all, you need to improve your infrastructure to restore things in normal. you don't have money, you have to go back to take another loans. So at the end of the day, we will find that we will lose everything. We have lost lives, we have lost property and infrastructures, and we will lose even resources because of these loans that we are taking for fighting. So they need common sense. So what are you fighting in Sudan? Why you fight each other? Not only in Sudan, I'm talking about that, Sudan as an example. But in the continent of Africa, we must stop fighting. Let us Africans pitching peace. Let us come down. If there's something we need to share, let us sit down and ask each other what we can do, how we can solve these challenges. If we can do so, I hope this continent can move in the right direction. And those things that we are talking about here, the issue of free movement of people and goods, investment can come through if there's peace. People are happy, we can do investment. We cannot do investment if people are not happy, people are so hungry, no peace. So our leaders, please, 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 our soldiers, please, 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 stop fighting, stop fighting, stop fighting. Let us bring peace in this continent. It is this generation that is destabilizing this continent. So our founding fathers fought for independence, but we, the current generation, we are fighting each other. We want to go back to colonialism. We want to be our colonial master ourselves. We want to colonize our fellow Africans. Shame on us. We must stop this nonsense. So families sometimes become hungry on what is happening in the continent of Africa. But all in all, I hope good things is happening in some areas, some countries. But as Africans, we must not become tired. We must preach peace, love, and hope among Africans so that we can build the Africa that all of us we want. After that, we have no more to share, family. Let me say thank you for being with me. Thank you for this conversation, powerful conversation between our...
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make African great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.
Africa and the Caribbean. We hope what they have agreed will come through into action very, very soon. After that, thank you. See you next time. Thank you.